Now we're going to get started. What's up, guys? It's Charlie with Mountain Man Digital, back again. And what I want to hit today, and you're going to see me doing these, I think my mic's clipping a little bit. You're going to see me doing these every week, hopefully every Friday at noon from now on, where I'm going to cover a different topic. And today's topic is website security. So probably one of the most boring ones, but this way if I mess up or embarrass myself, most people won't see it. So it works for everybody. But one of the first things that I want to cover today is just the basic outline of what we're going to talk about. So number one is going to be doing a security audit of your own site. Okay? So that's going to be very important in actually knowing whether or not your site's secure. Okay? And this is probably going to be the primary takeaway that 90% of you guys need. I'm not going to bury the lead, right? Let's just take a peek at the site, see what you guys can do insofar as trying to hack into it yourselves, and see if there's anything that really needs to be fixed. Okay? So that'll be number one. Number two is going to be taking a look at what are we going to call these compliance vulnerabilities? So we're going to look at some compliance vulnerabilities, and this can be like HIPAA compliance for medical practices. This can be SSL encryption for people who take credit cards through their website. This can be certain encrypted communication channels that people are expecting you to use. There's a lot of different places where compliance can land, right? These are probably like the two main arms of security when it comes to your website, right? Are you following the rules you're supposed to be following? And is your site also just like hard to hack? Is it just a pain in the butt? Because that's the real thing, right? Now, before I dig too much into everything else, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about like your security journey, right? So over here, you built your first website, right? Look at that. What a nice website, you know? And this website gets 0 users because it's brand new, right? This is 99% of websites. So for 99% of you who are listening to this, you probably haven't ever even had like a real user on your website. And this is an important thing to understand, right? Like if you have a brand new blog, this might not affect you, right? But I'll show you a few places where it can, right? So you have 0 users, right? And then a hacker can come in and throw fake traffic at your website for all sorts of reasons, right? And I'll list them down here. It can be a DDoS, right? But oftentimes what it is a Trojan, okay? And what this means is that they're going to put a little bit of code, like right here in the corner of your site. I'm just going to put, see how yucky it looks, right? And nobody can see it except in this diagram. And then what that code's going to do is let them use the processing power of your server, which is a real computer that exists somewhere out in the world, to do all sorts of stuff. Mine crypto, set up a bot farm, actually drive traffic to a weird off page of your site to share information or code or different stuff like that. There's all sorts of weird stuff that can happen when this type of stuff happens, right? And then, here's the crazy thing, right? You still have 0 users, right? This is still you, okay? But then you're going to get an email from the host, email, shutting you down, turning off your website, because even though your website's getting 0 users, man, is it using a lot of this server's processing power. And they go, what the heck, man? We got other websites to run. I don't know what you're doing, but it's against our terms of service. You see that? And now all of a sudden, whoops, didn't want to do that. And now all of a sudden your website's shut down. Okay? So this is kind of like the first thing that can happen to your site, right? And this happens to a lot of people. And this is why website security is important for everyone, right? You see this zero user, like Tiffany's first ever blog website has gotten shut down because of a hacker, even though it's not a popular website, right? So the idea that hacks don't happen to you because you're not a popular website is completely false, right? This is a hacker's bread and butter. Stuff like this. Little tricks that let them get access to this server that you're paying for. See that? Okay. So, very cool stuff, very fun. And this will probably help you understand why this matters. Okay? So now let me switch over to... Am I going to Facebook? Okay, well, we're going to do this and then go here. I'm just going to double check that. Looks good to me. Hopefully looks good to you. So here is my website. All right? And what I'm going to do right now is pretend I'm trying to hack it. Okay? So this is going to be like one of these proposed hacks. This is what the dirtbag trying to steal my server power is doing. Okay? Oh, I'm going to select the pictures of boats. Okay, that's not a boat. That's not a boat. Verify. Okay? And then I come up here, and then I can log in. Okay? You see that? Now, this is an important thing, right? That reCAPTCHA that you saw where you had to select the pictures of boats, that is going to stop most hackers. Why? Because most hackers are robots. Okay? The real hacker, the guy who you imagine from like the Matrix, who's sitting there, right, typing 1,000,000 miles a minute, you know, breaking into the database, looking at the code. That's not what hackers really do. They build pieces of code to do simple executions, like that guy typing 1,000,000 miles a minute, that are way faster than that crazy fast typing guy you see in the movies. Okay? And so what it's going to do is try and break through that robot thing really, really fast, right? But that reCAPTCHA is made to stop those people from succeeding, right? Because the easier place for them to break into is the login screen right here, right? Because you can brute force the password, okay? They can also try and copy your IP if you've selected Remember Me to log in from your computer, right? And that's a completely different thing that we're not going to talk about today because that's more computer security than website security. So these are a few simple ways that people can break into your site, okay? Just right through the back end. The other one, okay, and we're going to switch back. Whoops, I just opened Reaper. You guys want to produce some music with me? Didn't think so. I'm going to switch back to here. And the next piece we're going to talk about for types of hacks, right? So we got number one is going to be brute force. Username and password. Try to brute force the UNAP. Okay, so that can be number one. Number two, okay, can be an FTP breach. Okay, and this is file transfer protocol. So for those of you who remember taking like web development 101 in college or had a friend teach you how to code a website, right? One of the first things they have you do is open up a notepad, right, and write out your code, save it as an HTML file, and then upload it to a server via FTP, right? And then you see your website appear on the internet, right, as if by magic. And those FTP protocols are password protected. They are encrypted, right? They're definitely something that is generally Very, very safe. Sorry, I'm closing Reaper, y'all. All right, should be good. And this is going to be a very, very important thing that you take a hard look at if you're doing a security audit at all. Because, like, it's easy to have, like, an old password out there that, you know, oh my goodness, a contractor that you hired to, like, install some code on your site did. It could be that a plugin on your website allows FTP permissions because it's a sloppily made plugin. That's not true so much anymore, at least on WordPress, because it's a very regulated plugin universe out there. But if you had to download and like unzip the plugin, right, not from like the WordPress plugin store, that can definitely have these types of issues built right into it. Okay, and once again, none of this is out of malice, right? Security breaches happen to the best people with the best intentions when there's just a lapse in many of these different ideas, and that's why it's important to audit your stuff, you know? So like FTP is a place where it's like, oh, how could I have let that happen? But that's why you got to audit this stuff, right? You take a look at it. Another place can be the HT access, okay? And I was going to like show you guys my HT access, but there's so many places where that's super not safe, so I decided against it. But what this is hypertext access, right? And what it is you're going to have like 3 numbers you can choose from when you look at your HT access for all your files, right? 1 is read, 2 is write, 3 is read, write, and delete. And so you got to make sure that any sites that are live, any pages that are live, any files, right, they're set to 1. It's very, very important, at least for static pages, right? Pages that, contact forms, etc., you'll see those as set to 2. That's okay. Pretty much never set anything to 3, you know? This can also be something you hack to like help with page speed and stuff, right? That's when you can use these 1s. Normally you're going to see lots of 2s, but different conversation entirely. So that is another big place, because you'll see a lot of people, like I've done this before, where you'll be coding something and be like, oh, I just need to set everything to 3. I got to get in there and change stuff, and then you forget to change it back. This is why it's important to security audit your site, right? Especially if you aren't in this stuff every day. It's easy to miss things, okay? So these are some major places where you really need to take a look. Finally, I'm going to put on here email. And email is like a Pandora's box when you write it down in regards to security, right? Because there's the encryption of the email itself. Did it follow on an encrypted channel? Does anybody else have access to your emails? Who else read these emails? Is this email your user account to log into stuff? Can people get verification codes via your email? Blah, 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 blah. Right? Email is oftentimes kind of like I call it like the king of the castle when it comes to security. And so a lot of people think I'm like a kook, see my wife and child, because like, for instance, my phone, I'll show you all of the apps on my phone right now, is literally a black box, right? I don't receive verification texts. I don't receive anything on the phone that I keep on my person all day, right? That stays in the castle. And that phone never leaves my house. It's locked away. Oftentimes it's dead. And then if I'm trying to log in from somewhere new, out comes the castle phone to log me into stuff, right? And they think I'm crazy because I do this, but I have many clients that like need me for their security, right? So I go that extra step. Email is a big Pandora's box, right? If you are managing sensitive information, audit the inflows, the ways that people can access that email account. It can be very dangerous. Okay, so I think we covered that stuff very, very closely. So that is what I'm going to call security audit complete. Okay, so those are the things you should look at. You should log in to your hosting server. You should check your FTP access. You should check your HT access, right? Oh yeah, and finally, if you guys are on WordPress, like before any of this, update your website. Okay, it should be updated to the newest version of WordPress. It should have an updated theme. And all of your plugins should be updated, okay? And those three things are very important because each of those three items contain what's called JavaScript. And in the email, that I sent to you guys, I talked a little bit about the log4j vulnerability. Everybody who's a coder is going to pick on me for the capital L. And this is a JavaScript problem, okay? So WordPress very heavily uses JavaScript. And therefore, all updated websites in WordPress now are protected from the log4j vulnerability. But it is all updated websites, right? So this is the number one easiest thing you can do to protect your site, right, is to update everything. Now, very often, themes aren't maintained, plugins don't run in the way that you've set them up, etc., right? So therefore, it is imperative that you make a backup of your site first, okay? WordPress will probably ping you to do so if you haven't already, but make a stable backup before you update, right? And then update things one at a time and watch them go through. Very, very important that you do that properly. Okay, so why do I keep moving these things? So those are the items that I wanted to cover for a security audit of your site. Okay, update, right? Check your login screen, check your FTP, check your HT access, check your own email, the email that's linked to that site for vulnerabilities. Because if someone can get the password and username for your DNS, you're out of luck, right? If someone can get the back-end login out of your email, you're out of luck. Okay, everything else doesn't matter. They're in. So those are those pieces. The next piece is going to be compliance, okay? And this is where you probably hear, your web devs talk about security a lot, right? They'll say, we SSL encrypt all our sites, right? We do encrypted email. Okay? Yes, we handle security for you, right? And I want you guys to understand that these are just compliance, right? This is just like putting your shirt and your shoes on to show up and say hello to everybody, okay? Like if you land on a site that's not SSL encrypted nowadays, I should have saved one before we came up here, right? Like Google Chrome will prompt you and be like, this site is not safe. Do not go to it, right? And you have to click through 3 different menus to even go to the website. So it is very, very dangerous to not have SSL, just from a business standpoint, right? Because even if your website shows up on Google, someone's going to click on that link and they're going to think your site is hacked, right? You can't have it. Same thing with encrypted email, right? Many email services nowadays don't even like to link to a non-encrypted email server, right? Gmail's encrypted. Anybody who's sending emails nowadays encrypted. So these are kind of almost silly things to mention, right? They're absolutely mandatory. But they need to happen from jump, okay? They just need to go down. And if they aren't, you're dead in the water, right? You can't have it. So those are my primary items there. Let's see, what else do I want to cover, honestly, in regards to compliance? And then there's industry-specific stuff, okay? And for that, it still is really just making sure that these things actually happen, 99 times out of 100. Right? Sometimes it'll be and you have to use our proprietary software, so we log X, and that's a whole other thing. But really, it's be encrypted, right, from top to bottom, so that nobody can hack this. Right? Encryption is the final answer with internet communication. So, I hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, give it a like, Share it around with anybody else you think might find it useful. And I'll see you in the next one.